And only a total fool, and they're not fools, they're very smart actually in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators.
U.S. forces are now bringing experimental drone boats into a high-stakes fight with Iran, even as Washington still struggles to fully understand Tehran's evolving maritime playbook. Uncrewed American speedboats have entered the battle space as part of new patrol missions, but Iran already has years of experience with similar systems and knows exactly how these platforms operate. In a striking reversal, the Pentagon is effectively copying Iran's own tactics at sea, testing an uncrewed surface fleet in the middle of an active war rather than perfecting it in peacetime. The U.S. is adopting Iran-style sea drones just as Kharg Island and the Strait of Hormuz emerge as flashpoints, betting that these systems can help counter Tehran's threats to critical energy routes. But no matter how many U.S. drone patrols fan out across these waters, they cannot fully conceal American ships and bases from Iran's sea mines and kamikaze naval boats lurking along key choke points. The United States has deployed uncrewed drone speedboats to conduct patrols as part of its operations against Iran, adding a new layer of technology to the already tense maritime battlefield. According to a Reuters-based report, this marks the first time Washington has publicly confirmed using such uncrewed surface vessels in an active conflict zone. These high-speed boats can be configured either for surveillance and reconnaissance or loaded as kamikaze platforms for direct explosive strikes, depending on the mission profile. Their deployment comes despite a series of setbacks in a U.S. Navy's years-long effort to build and field a reliable fleet of uncrewed surface vessels for frontline use. Uncrewed vessels gained global prominence after Ukraine used explosive-laden speedboats to dramatic effect, inflicting significant damage on Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Those Ukrainian sea drones managed to seriously damage or disable several Russian warships, showcasing how relatively cheap platforms can threaten major naval assets. Since the U.S.-Israel war with Iran began on February 28, Iran has itself used sea drones at least twice to attack oil tankers in the Gulf, underlining how contested these waters have become. A Pentagon spokesperson confirmed that U.S. unmanned vessels have been used for patrols, noting that platforms like the GARC drone boat have already logged hundreds of hours at sea in support of the campaign. Tim Hawkins said, quote, U.S. forces continue to employ unmanned systems in the Middle East region, including surface drone assets like the GARC. This platform, in particular, has successfully logged over 450 underway hours and more than 2,200 nautical miles during maritime patrols in support of Operation Epic Fury. The GARC is an emerging capability and part of a fleet of surface drones operated by U.S. Fifth Fleet to enhance awareness of what's happening in regional waters. Unquote. The U.S. has spent years trying to build a fleet of autonomous, uncrewed surface and underwater vessels, designed to operate alongside its Navy as a new class of robotic platforms. These systems are meant to offer a cheaper and faster alternative to traditional manned warships and submarines, which are slower to build and far more expensive to crew and operate. According to Reuters, the core idea behind this push was to help counter China's rapidly expanding naval power in the Pacific by fielding swarms of smaller, expendable drones. But the program has been hampered by technical glitches, spiraling cost concerns, and repeated testing setbacks that have delayed large-scale deployment. One of the flagship platforms, the angular GARC speedboat, has been linked to multiple performance and safety problems during trials, raising questions about its readiness for war. In one highly scrutinized test, a GARC collided with another boat at speed, while in a separate incident, another vessel became inoperable altogether, highlighting lingering reliability issues. Iran is increasing its military readiness as speculation grows over a possible United States ground invasion. Iranian media released a video on X indicating that military preparations are now underway for a possible battle. The footage showing those war preparations was released by Iran military media on March 26. Armed soldiers prepared for combat on land and in the air could be seen in Iran's military video. Iran also suggested that proxy groups across the wider Middle East region may join the battlefield. Iran described itself as a true master of ground warfare in an open challenge directed at U.S. troops. A military source told Iranian news agency Tasnim that more than 1 million fighters are ready for battle. Iran's open warning to Donald Trump comes amid reports that the United States is considering a ground invasion. Axios reported that the Pentagon is compiling military options for a final blow against Iran that could include ground forces. 2 U.S. officials told Axios that a large-scale bombing campaign inside Iran may also be under consideration. Pentagon officials have already deployed about 2,000 U.S. paratroopers to the Middle East region. Another 4,500 U.S. Marines are also reportedly heading toward the Middle East in case of a ground invasion. Reports indicate Trump is assembling a force of about 7,000 troops after his peace proposal was rejected. Some of Trump's options to pressure Iran into reopening the strait and stopping the war were outlined in reports. Trump has been presented with various attack options on Iran. This includes invading or blockading Kharg Island. Another reported option involves invading Larak, an island tied to Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. A separate option involves seizing Abu Musa and 2 smaller islands near the western entrance to the strait. Another measure could involve blocking or seizing ships exporting Iranian oil on the eastern side of Hormuz. Trump is reportedly prepared for a ground invasion if diplomatic efforts with Iran fail again. On March 26, Donald Trump repeated his claim that Iran was asking for a peace deal. Trump has not identified who the United States is negotiating with in Iran, referring only to a top person. Earlier reports said Iran had rejected Trump's 15-point peace plan as too excessive.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.